Were these wins consolation or career Oscars or both? Hey, it's Michael, aka Oscar Man, and I'm going to discuss some Oscar winning performances that I want your thoughts on as to whether you think they were consolation prizes for a previous loss, an award for the actor's overall career, or perhaps both. Let's begin with Al Pacino winning a long overdue Best Actor Oscar for 1992's Scent of a Woman. This was Pacino's 8th nomination, his 5th in the lead actor category, and had he lost this time, it would have made him the all-time losing actor. That dubious honor eventually went to Peter O'Toole, who wins 0 for 8. So let's dive into the backstory of Scent of a Woman. Jack Nicholson was offered the role of Lieutenant Colonel Frank Slade, but turned it down. When Al Pacino was cast, he undertook extensive research into what a visually impaired person experiences, learning such things as how to find a chair to pouring liquid into a bottle. The film, and Pacino's performance, received positive reviews, earning more than $130 million at the box office. Pacino won the Golden Globe and was pretty much expected to finally receive his first Oscar. So why is his performance and win so unpopular? Though this doesn't compare to his other nominated roles in The Godfather 1 and 2, Serpico, Dog Day Afternoon, and also And Justice for All, on its own merits, I think it was good in the film.
Out of order. Who the hell do you think you're talking to? I've been around, you know. There was a time I could see, and I have seen, boys like these, younger than these, their arms torn out, their legs ripped off. But there is nothing like the sight of an amputated spirit. There is no prosthetic for that.
If nothing else, Pacino shared a funny anecdote after he won.
Well, I won the Oscar, and I was in shock, kind of, you know. I was overwhelmed by the whole thing, you know, the whole gestalt. So I get in the elevator, and I'm going down with a lot of people. We're all packed in there like sardines. And I got my Oscar. And this very well-known actress is standing in front of me in the elevator, and we're going down. And she starts to squirm a little bit. And then I realize that the head of my Oscar is in her, is sort of, it's touching her behind, you know. And I thought, oh man, you know, this is so weird. So I take the Oscar up and I bring it back up like that. And I just leaned over in her ear and I said, oh, pardon me, that wasn't me. It was my Oscar. That's a true story.
I'm glad Al Pacino was an Oscar winner, but I think this was an award acknowledging his great career. What do you think? Nominated 7 times, Ellen Burstyn won Best Actress on her 3rd try for 1974's Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. Burstyn spearheaded the project after she was given autonomy by Warner Brothers while filming the massive hit The Exorcist the year prior. She even had her choice of director, and she selected Martin Scorsese because when she asked him what he knew about women, he told her, "Nothing, but I'd like to learn." Ellen Burstyn was considered a frontrunner for Best Actress for The Exorcist, but lost to Glenda Jackson in A Touch of Class, one of Oscar's most shocking wins, which I covered in a previous video, the link to which can be found in the description below. Though Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore received mostly positive reviews and was a modest success financially, Burstyn's win was rather surprising.
I'm out there spending too much money on clothes, trying to look like maybe I'm under 30 so that somebody will hire me, and you're sitting in here whining like an idiot. I will get a job, all right? I will get you to Monterey before your birthday. I will get you in school by September. I swear it. Shall I open a vein and sign it in blood?
Ellen Burstyn was performing on Broadway in same time next year, and she decided not to fly to Los Angeles for the Oscar ceremony because she felt she wouldn't win, a decision she later regretted. I always liked Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, though I thought it was a consolation Oscar to make up for not winning the year before. Your thoughts? Paul Newman was a screen legend with a career which spanned 3 decades when he won Best Actor for The Color of Money in 1986. This performance garnered Newman his 7th nomination. He ultimately received 9 in total, plus an honorary Oscar. And the film was a sequel to the 1961 success The Hustler, for which he was also nominated. Though The Color of Money was considered inferior to the first film, Newman's reprisal of Fast Eddie Nelson was generally praised.
These guys. I'm too old. My wheels are shot. It's a young man's game. Besides, there's drugs now. You know, kids are playing a coke, speed. I don't know. When I was younger, it was booze. Somehow it was more human.
Booze, huh?
Booze, yeah. Wine goes back to the Bible. The Bible never said anything about amphetamine.
You religious, eh?
Me? I get high on a man upstairs.
What I find disappointing is that Paul Newman received his honorary Oscar first, then the following year won one, which I think diminished his competitive victory. Interestingly, he didn't show up in person to accept either statue. For me, even Newman not necessarily at his best is still pretty good, but my vote would have gone to his performance in 1963's HUD. So I'm going to call his win for The Color of Money as definitely a career Oscar. Let us know which of these you consider this Oscar win. Paul Newman did return to the ceremony the following year to present the Best Actress Oscar to Cher in Moonstruck. The singer had previously received acclaim and an Oscar nomination for her work in Silkwood, and Moonstruck became her biggest critical and box office success to date. The romantic comedy about a single Italian woman whose complicated relationship with her fiancé's brother earned Cher a Golden Globe and an incredible amount of publicity, the peak of which hit exactly during the Oscar voting period.
You know, my mother guessed that my father was seeing somebody. That Mona, I mean, she's some piece of cheap goods. Who am I to talk?
What's the matter?
How can you ask me that?
You're making me feel guilty.
You are guilty. I'm guilty.
Of what? Only God can point the finger, Loretta.
Yeah, well, I know what I know.
And what do you know?
Even though Cher had formidable competition from the likes of Glenn Close, Holly Hunter, Sally Kirkland, and Meryl Streep, her popularity propelled her to an Oscar win. I thought Olympia Dukakis' Oscar-winning performance in Moonstruck was the best thing about the film. And while I've always liked Cher, this wasn't the one that should have made her an Oscar winner. That should have come from her outstanding performance in 1985's Mask. The only problem was that she wasn't nominated, and the snub stung big time, as evidenced by her pointed remark at that year's awards.
As you can see, I did receive my Academy booklet on how to dress like a serious actress.
So, for me, this is an easy one. Cher's win for Moonstruck was a consolation Oscar for not being nominated for her much stronger performance in Mask. Tell us what you think. Even though he was only 42 years old at the time of his Oscar win, Leonardo DiCaprio was a screen veteran, already on his 5th nomination for The Revenant, his 28th film. This story of a fur trapper's experiences in the early 19th century took 7 months to film, under what was reported to be rather grueling conditions. DiCaprio swept the awards that season, winning the BAFTA, Golden Globe, and SAG among them. The Revenant brought in more than $500 million, and its star received mostly positive reviews for what was considered his strong commitment to the role.
I need a horse and a gun.
No, you need rest and something to eat. I'm going after him.
No. You'll never find him without me.
You wait till morning, he'll have a day's head start. He'll get away.
No, he won't. He's afraid. He knows how far I came for him. Same as that elk, when they get afraid, they run deep into the woods. I got him trapped, he doesn't know it yet.
So why is his win part of this video? Well, aside from the fact that I thought The Revenant was too long and often violent, I believe that Leonardo DiCaprio won his Oscar, yes, at 42 years old, for his overall career rather than this particular performance. To me, it seemed like one of those it's his turn wins. Do you agree, or do you think this might have been a consolation Oscar for not winning for his performance in The Wolf of Wall Street? Or maybe you think he won because he simply deserved it for this film. I'd like to know your thoughts. I'll run through a few more on this subject before speaking in depth on 2 additional winning performances. I've always said that I believe Julianne Moore's Best Actress win for 2014's Just Alice was a career Oscar, because this was her 5th nomination and she was overdue at that point. If Moore was to become an Oscar winner, it should have been for her standout performance in 1997's Boogie Nights. Screen legend Bette Davis went on record many, many times stating that her first Oscar win for 1935's Dangerous was a consolation prize for not being nominated the year before in Of Human Bondage. I'm not going to argue with her on that one. Many believe that James Stewart should have won Best Actor for 1939's Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, and was subsequently awarded a consolation Oscar the following year for The Philadelphia Story. Stewart himself said he voted for Henry Fonda in The Grapes of Wrath that year. And Joan Fontaine's performance in 1940's Rebecca was considered one of her best. After she lost to Ginger Rogers for Kitty Foyle, Fontaine was awarded a consolation Oscar for the following year's Suspicion. Nice gesture, Academy, but come on. Now, this Oscar-winning performance doesn't hold a candle to the drama that ensued at the 1961 awards ceremony. Fresh from her deathbed, where she clinically died from pneumonia, was none other than nominee Elizabeth Taylor, who ascended the podium on the arm of her husband Eddie Fisher, even more drama there, to accept her Best Actress Oscar for Butterfield 8. Everyone knows Taylor hated that film, in which she played Gloria Wondrous, but was obligated to make it to fulfill her contract with MGM so she could then star in Cleopatra for 20th Century Fox. Let's be honest, Elizabeth Taylor was never uncomplicated. In the HBO documentary Elizabeth Taylor, The Lost Tapes, the actress was quoted as saying this about Butterfield 8. "I hated it so much. I thought, fuck them. They made me do the film. I didn't want to. I did it with a pistol at my head. The lines were so diabolical. It was such a piece of shit. And it made me angry. And out of that anger, it kind of gave me an incentive." Before I state the obvious as to how I would classify this Oscar win, let me go out on a limb and say this. I actually thought Taylor did a pretty good job for what she was given. She had a strong scene where she tells Eddie, I mean Steve, about why she became a prostitute.
Major Hartley, my mother's friend. He came down to Grand Central Station one day to pick me up from summer camp. Mother was away visiting. He took me home. He let me sit on his lap. He let me hug him. He told me I was beautiful. He stayed in that house for 1 week and taught me more about evil than any 13-year-old girl in the world knew.
Was Elizabeth Taylor's assessment of Butterfield 8 inaccurate? Of course not. Was this film and her performance worthy of an Oscar? No. But I don't think it necessarily deserves the level of disdain it has earned over the years. So I'll conclude by saying that Elizabeth Taylor's Best Actress Award for Butterfield 8 was a combination, consolation, and career Oscar to make up for her 3 consecutive Best Actress losses, for nearly dying, and for being stuck with Eddie Fisher. Before I discuss an Oscar win by another legendary actress, let me digress to thank each of you for being a part of this channel. I know there is so much out there on YouTube and the internet in general, and asking you to spend some time with me is something I don't take for granted. When the video concludes with an inspirational message from an Oscar winner, I would appreciate it if you would hit the like button, and if you're not yet a member of our wonderful and friendly community, please consider joining. In addition to a new video posted each week, there are fun daily polls where you get a chance to cast your vote. What makes a legend most? How about 8 Oscar nominations, 1 BAFTA award, 2 Golden Globes, 2 Emmys, 4 Tony nominations? All of this adds up to Miss Geraldine Page, who finally won an Academy Award for her 27th film, 1985's The Trip to Bountiful. Based on a play by Horton Foote, it first appeared on television in 1953 before its Broadway debut later that year. Lillian Gish starred in both productions as Carrie Watts, a woman who dreams of returning to her hometown and the people she meets on her bus ride to Bountiful. When it came time to make the film 30 years later, playwright Horton Foote would only consent to the movie being made if Geraldine Page was cast in the lead, for which she received rave reviews. Variety called it the performance of a lifetime. The New York Times wrote, "It ranks with the best things Page has done on the screen." Yet despite this being her 8th nomination, Geraldine Page was not considered the frontrunner come Oscar time. Newcomer Whoopi Goldberg was believed by many to end up as the first African American to win lead actress for her debut in The Color Purple. Coincidentally, fellow nominee Anne Bancroft was nominated for Agnes of God, a role which Geraldine Page first created on Broadway. When F. Murray Abraham opened the envelope and said,
"I consider this woman the greatest actress in the English language,"
everyone knew whom he was speaking of. Geraldine Page received a sustained standing ovation, and she modestly accepted the honor. Sadly, she passed away a year later. Was this a consolation Oscar for not winning previously? I would say no. A career Oscar because this was a then record-breaking 8th nomination without a win? I would say likely. A performance that deserved the award? I would say definitely. In addition to letting us know if you would classify all of these as consolation or career wins, what other Oscar-winning performances can you think of that would classify as one or both? Looking forward to your always great comments. And until we meet again, this message may resonate with you.
Call your mom, call your dad. If you're lucky enough to have a parent or two alive on this planet, call them. Don't text, don't email. Call them on the phone. Tell them you love them and thank them and listen to them for as long as they want to talk to you. Thank you. Thank you, Mom and Dad.